Welcome to the PIARC podcast Global Road Voices. Founded in 1909, PIARC, World Road Association, has been the leading global platform for knowledge exchange on roads and road transport policies. With over 120 member countries, PIARC fosters collaboration and innovation to advance a sustainable future for the road and transport sectors. Visit piarc.org to access exclusive resources, stay updated on activities, and become a PIARC member to engage with the international road community.
Hello, everyone. I'm Miguel Casoflores. I'm Technical Director in the World Road Association, also known as PIARC. And this is the third PIARC podcast. And today we have with us two great colleagues from the Road Safety Technical Committee to discuss about road safety. We have John Milton from the United States and John Burrell from the United Kingdom. So, John Milton, can you please say a few words about yourself?
My name's John Milton. I'm from the United States National Committee. And there I am the state engineer in Washington State. I also am the AASHTO Vice Chair, so the American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials Vice Chair, and the past Section Chair of the Transportation Research Board.
Thank you very much, John. And you're doing a great job chairing the technical committee of PIARC, or technical on road safety. John Burrell, please, can you say a few words about yourself?
Okay, thank you, Miguel. Hi, my name's John Burrell. I'm based in the UK. I've got about 50 years experience in road safety. I'm a trained civil engineer, but most of my experience has been in traffic management, accident investigation, and road safety audit. I've worked in the UK and extensively overseas, mainly Africa, Europe, and the Middle East. I've been on PIARC technical committees. This is my third cycle. I came on board when they were reviewing on updating the road safety audit manual. I am the SORSA UK Society of Road Safety Auditors representative on the committee, and I'm currently leading work group 3.1.4, updating the road safety manual.
Thank you very much, John. And we will tackle that very soon, because that's a flagship product from PIARC, and we are very happy that it has been recently updated. To introduce the subject, we know the road safety has become a global pandemic. United Nations usually refers to it as a silent pandemic because, unfortunately, people around the world are dying, and we're getting used to it. And it's not in the front pages of our newspapers or other places like other pandemics are. Every year, about 1.2 million people are killed on around the world, on the roads around the world, and between 20 and 50 million are permanently injured. Traffic has become the leading cause of death globally for children and young people aged between 15 and 29 years old. In some countries, goes from 5 to 29 years old. On top of the personal catastrophes, families, pain that this cause, this is also in socioeconomic terms great loss. We usually estimate in around 5% of the GDP in some countries, 3% globally. So both of you, what can we say to raise awareness about the problem that we have?
Where to start, I suppose. It's been an ongoing issue ever since we invented the motor car. UK is great in doing things first, and regrettably, we had the first road fatality back in over 120 years ago, and we're still killing people on the road. But it seems to be acceptable. It is part of the requirement for developing and growing our economies and our lifestyles. Where are we? 2025, 15 years ago, we had the first decade of action declared globally in 2011, which said we wanted to stabilize the number of road fatalities and then bring them down. In 10 years of action, we've managed to stabilize them. And then we had a second decade of action that started in 2020 or 2021. That is to reduce them by 50%. We're halfway through that decade and the figure is still at in excess of 1 million road fatalities. We keep saying we know what to do. We have the tools, we have the expertise, but somehow we're not doing it. For me, it's the political will. The politicians say, yes, it's nice words, but really, we don't want to measure it. We don't want to be held up at the end of our election period to say we haven't achieved what we're going to do. We'll leave it to the technical people to solve. If they've not solved it, it's their problem. It's everybody's problem, but it has to be driven from the top. If we don't have that commitment in terms of political will and, more importantly, political money to drive all the areas that need to be improved, we're still going to be making the same mistakes. UK, we've made them over the last 100 years and we're still making them. We're making inroads on the edges, but we're not tackling the fundamental problem of how, as a society, we deal with an infrastructure that is actually killing people. And we seem to find this acceptable. Somehow we have to change this and it has to be driven from the top. And in many countries you find if the president or the prime minister, if their family is involved in a road fatality, suddenly that hits the political agenda. But if it's not there, if it's somebody else's problem, then they can solve it. But we don't really want to know.
Thanks, John.
And Miguel, one thing that we've been really focusing on here is as well, the political environment is a challenge for us, but safety culture within a country is a key factor in how things happen within that country as well. And recognizing that we're all different, our laws, our roads, our ability to pay for those roads, it's different. And we need to account for that in how we design and operate and get people to understand what is acceptable behavior, what is acceptable way of treating the road and working with the road. And we're doing that, I think, better, but it's a big opportunity to really continue to strive to change that safety culture to something is we're not going to drink and drive. We're going to wear our restraints. We're going to keep the speeds down. It's not always easy, but it is an opportunity.
Thank you. I totally agree with a lot of the comments you mentioned. I think John mentioned the decade of action. I think it's very important to highlight what happened and what was it, because some people saw the first decade of action as a failure and as an excuse to not do anything else on road safety, because they say this is unavoidable accidents and we will need to have them. We have a lot that record internationally. And I do agree with John Barr. The first decade of action did a major thing. They stabilized the numbers of death on the roads. Forever since the invention of the vehicle, we were increasing. Every single year, they were dying more and more and more people. So we were not able to decrease them, but for first time, we were able to stop them increasing. And because of that, I think we saved around 3.5 million people's life in that decade of action. So saving 3.5 million people's life cannot be called a failure. And now I do agree, John, we need to work hard on the second decade of action and see if we're able to have the dates by 2030. That's the culture. And I think this comes also with some of the things that you both mentioned, which is giving us targets and giving politicians targets. And we are all there for the zero vision at the end, but we need intermediate milestones. When do I want to achieve this one? When do I want to achieve that one? And make people accountable. This also goes in all the directions. What you mentioned, John, of the road user having a responsible approach to the driving, but also us, operators and designers of the road infrastructure, making sure that we do a forgiven road, making sure that when a road user makes a mistake, because they're going to make mistakes, everybody's human, there's going to be mistakes, it doesn't cost their lives. And we should embed this safety culture.
Yeah, I don't think it's any coincidence that when the first decade of action was introduced, the United Kingdom then decided to buck the trend and do away with national road safety targets. For the 20 years previously, we'd seen 30, 40, 50% reduction in fatalities nationally across the United Kingdom. In 2011, they said, just keep doing what you're doing. And there was no political accountability. And since 2011, UK fatalities have stagnated. They've stayed the same because there is no target. There is nobody saying you haven't achieved what you said you were going to achieve. What additional actions or what additional resources do you need? Just, go and keep doing what you're doing. But then there are more important things on road authorities' budgets and on local government budgets in terms of what they need to do. And it is not until particular communities start saying, people are being killed on this road, we have the most dangerous road in the country. Yeah, depends how you measure it. But by and large, it is the public pressure that then drives the politicians, which then drives the actions to measure and determine a fundamental improvement in road safety. So whilst it needs to be driven from the top, it comes from both ends. It comes from the road users who say it is not right that we are killing children and young people on our roads. We need to do things differently. How do we do that differently? What do we bring in to make sure things operate more safely and we can still have the mobility freedoms that we want?
John, you bring up a really important point, at least for what was happening in the US during the same time. Our numbers were flattening, maybe, but we've seen increases recently. And for us, it was, what's going on here? What can we do? What are other people doing? Europe was doing much better at the time that we were having challenges. And we really wanted to focus on that. We looked to the safe system, some of the approaches that were going on elsewhere, and really try to bring them into our system as rapidly as we possibly can. I mentioned safety culture at the beginning. The issue that we face in the US, we have big vehicles going fast, long distances. That's not a great thing for road safety in what we're talking about here. But we also have some challenges with the choices that are being made by our road users. And I think, Miguel, you mentioned forgiving roadways. Self-explaining roads are another big issue that we're taking a look at as well, to try to really support that safe road user behavior in the US. And as John suggested, to incorporate what we can do as engineers and infrastructure owners to make modifications to the extent that we can do it within the system to help reduce some of those challenges that we have. Not walking away from it past, we might say, hey, look, somebody who's drinking and driving, that's their issue. Today we'll say, is there something that I could do to help reduce that injury if there is a challenge with their drinking and driving? So, and that's lessons learned that we take from elsewhere. I mean, we really looked at the safe system, what was happening in Sweden, the Netherlands, Australia, England, all over the place. And at the same time, we weren't doing it. So we got to it, and we're really doing our best to try to incorporate it now.
Thank you very much, John. You mentioned something which I'm very attached to because of working in the World Water Association, which is the international exchange of knowledge. Every country faces different challenges. Nothing can be extraposed from one country to the other one directly, but we all can get inspired. And by being on these international forums, such as PRC, we can save a lot of time and a lot of money, and we can go ahead much faster. So both of you work in the Technical Committee 3.1 Road Safety of PRC. I believe there is 142 members in this technical committee for above 60 countries around the world. What does the work of this technical committee, how can the work of this technical committee help practitioners and decision makers of the world to improve road safety?
John, I'd like to take that, John Barrow, to start with. John Barrow's a great colleague of mine. I contacted John to ask him about safety audits, about how he does things, how Great Britain does things. That's one of the greatest things that I've got out of Safe System. For instance, what they were doing in Europe, what they were doing in Australia, what was happening elsewhere. And to try to capture that knowledge for us, we were able to hear, listen, and bring it right into the systems that we have. And we're incorporating a lot of what I can learn in PRC into what we're doing in the US. I have the opportunity as vice chair of the AASHTO committee on safety in the US to bring it in, but so do others. It's going to be a different scope. John brought up the issue that we don't all have the same thing, and that's what we need to look at as safety professionals. What is it that somebody else is doing, and what is it that I can take from that and bring it into my system? PRC's been fantastic for me. It's one of the best investments I've ever made. So we're doing better, like in my state. And I think a lot of it has to do with what I've learned here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and if I could follow up on that, Miguel, you mentioned that whilst there is a lot of examples out there and a lot of knowledge, it is not always directly transferable to other countries. So I think PIARC's strength is being able to bring those various examples and knowledge together with an understanding of why they were implemented. And as I mentioned at the start, one of the major tasks this cycle has been the updating of the Road Safety Manual, which has been a fantastic online resource that PIARC had made available. But the original version in 2003 was a 196-page hardbound volume that went into the basics. What are the physics behind stopping distances? How do we calculate the appropriate radius curve or vertical curve for particular speeds? What is the physics and the knowledge behind our understanding of those elements that don't change? People's behavior changes and adapts as we have different vehicles, but the basic physics and the dynamics of vehicle movement and impact doesn't change, and its damage to the human body is fundamental. And if we don't understand and have the ability to interrogate those fundamentals, which the update to the manual has done by bringing in a lot of the basic information that was in the 2003 manual to make it more widely available, rather than say, well, this is the way we've done it. But why have we done it? What is the understanding? Why do we collect data in the way we do, and how do we make use of it? How can we combine the increasing amounts of data that are being made available in the most accurate and appropriate ways? And how can we get people to understand that if you don't put the right information in and don't have the right understanding, then you will get the wrong result. It's not just a mechanistic process. You have to network with other experts to gain their understanding and their knowledge. And as John says, PIARC is a wonderful forum for doing that. You meet people who have done things slightly differently and approached a problem from a different perspective to come up with a fundamentally different and workable solution that suddenly sets off a light bulb and says, yes, now we can apply that in this way, in this location. And it broadens the learning, the innovation, and the development of new standards on how we use the whole of the road network.
Thank you so much, John. So let's discuss this manual. You already mentioned we had a first hard copy version 2003. Then, as a part of the first decade of action, we wanted to have it an online manual. That's what we published in 2015. It was much more directed to policies, national policies and strategies for road safety, and not so much on the road safer infrastructure. Then we complemented a little bit, and now you have embedded the 2003. Milton, do you want to comment something on this, the repercussion of this new update of the online manual?
So yeah, I do. So in 2019, one thing that we saw as an opportunity, we did have a version that came in before, and we really looked at bringing in case studies. Case studies do a great job of explaining the challenges that we have for different countries of different sizes, and that was one of the primary focuses that we had then. John came to me, well, I think it was about 2015, somewhere in there, John, it was 2015, 2016, and said, hey, look, what I'm hearing is there's an opportunity to bring back some of these worksheets, some of these appropriate technical approaches into this manual. And I think that would be a great addition to it. And you know what? It was, and it is, because it allows people to take a look at the work that they actually do. It provides that information to them and allows them in simple form to be able to take a look and incorporate that into their decision making. And Miguel, the issue that we really want to change, everything that we've been trying to do is incorporate our manuals, what we're doing in terms of the development of documents, into good decision making by our professionals. If we can get that, the safety culture changes within our profession, and it provides a great deal of benefit to how we design and operate the roads, and that will lead to change. We're putting our part into it, and I think John's idea when he brought that forward is pretty big. And I think I'm really looking forward to seeing the manual get used in that way.
Yeah, I think in 2015, the online manual again changed the approach to road safety. It was very much about the management and the organisation, because we had the 2003 manual did the technical aspects, but as that has developed and as we've moved on, new people are entering the road safety field, and sometimes we forget that what we know as the fundamentals, some people don't. So now that the hard copy version, the 2003 manual, is no longer printed or available, bringing that online creates a fully comprehensive learning tool and reference document for anybody at whatever stage they are in trying to apply road safety interventions and road safety improvements. I think it's going to be not game changing, but certainly a seminal document going forward in the future. And I'm pleased, really pleased we've done it. It's take a long time of badgering to get it incorporated, but I really do believe it's going to be well worth it. And the information that's in there through the case studies, the calculators, the technical sheets that, as I say, explain the background, should give people a real understanding of what we are trying to deal with across the whole field of road safety.
Thank you very much. Let me ask you now both of you a question that a lot of people in the road sector with some expertise on road safety, but not super experts as you are on road safety, as we ask ourselves. And is the balance between putting effort in changing drivers' behaviors or road users' behaviors and not doing that and put more budget, efforts, energy on making a better infrastructure. And I think we all have this idea of the safe system approach. We need to work with people's mistakes. They're going to make mistake anyway. We cannot change that behavior. There will be mistakes, and we have to give a forgiving infrastructure. And the typical case, just for people who are following us, is the roundabout. When we used to have a normal crossing, if everybody behaved the way they should, there was no crash. It was perfect. Everybody follows the red lights, the green ones and the yellow ones. Shouldn't be a problem. But there were problems because people make mistakes, and there were people who were killed. And then we decided to change for roundabouts. And then because of the trajectory of the different crashes and the reduction of the energy from one car to the other one, we have reduced the fatalities from 80%, 85% sometimes. So where should we put the effort? Is it in both places? Is it more than one to the other one? Should we insist in changing road users' behavior, or should we focus on they're going to make mistakes? Let's provide a safer infrastructure, taking into account the mistakes.
I think the easiest answer is yes. You know, when we look at it, the safe system is just that. It's a system. It's looking at things that you can do together to improve road safety. It's not a one size fit all type of approach. It looks at both behaviors. Can we change those? Are there opportunities? It could be enforcement, it could be education, it could be, getting out there and doing something with the public that makes a big difference. But it's also about how we design and operate. If we design a big facility, wide open, able to go fast, and then we're concerned about the fatal and serious crashes we get because of the excessive energy, well, we haven't done our part. And I think that together with what we're trying to do with the vehicles, what we're trying to do with the road, what we're trying to do with the behavior, and what we're trying to do with the speeds, all goes together. And I think it's really well said in the approach, strengthen all parts. We talk about redundancy in the US, the Swiss cheese model where, there's something there. If a behavior fails, the road's there to protect. Guard barrier systems on the facilities are there because errors occur. We have no problem designing for that. That's the way we should look at it. It's a forgiving roadway. We have that opportunity. We should take it.
Yeah, for me, Miguel, it's about balance. As John says, the safe system should build in redundancies, and any system is only as good as its weakest part. So if you only improve the infrastructure and leave the enforcement, vehicle standards, road user behavior, speed management alone, then that weakest part, if your speed management is poor and your new road infrastructure has speeds that vehicles are not attuned to using, you are not going to create a safe system. So in improving the infrastructure, you have to bear in mind what's the vehicle mix that's going to use it. US standards or UK standards don't have to cope with large numbers of two-wheeled motorcycles or large quantities of bicycles like you might see in Asia or in Africa. So the vehicle mix is important in determining what the appropriate design standards are to create a safe system. And equally, road user behavior takes a long time to change. It takes generations. And in some of these low middle income countries, we are asking them to change their behavior over 5 and 10 years. You put in a 3 and 4 lane highway where before there was a single lane, maybe surfaced road, maybe not, with 45-ton vehicles travelling at 120 kilometres an hour, where because of the standard of the road surface, they only travelled at 40. and you have rural communities on both sides that have young adults minding herds of goats, which are not trained to cope with 120 kilometre an hour vehicles. So unless you can educate them at the same time and change their behaviour, or provide them with facilities that build in redundancies, if you want to cross the road, you can do it via an underpass or an overpass, or you create specific conditions that makes it safe for them to cross. And increasingly, we are looking at dealing with sustainable travel, active travel, dealing with pedestrians and cyclists in prioritising their movement. And traditionally, our focus on infrastructure improvement has been on doing it for vehicles. So we have to shift our design philosophy to match not only the political position, but also the change in social dynamics, and understanding the social behaviour that goes on along corridors or within countries that we can change to improve, but not create more harm by putting in infrastructure that is not appropriate. So the safe system works if you've got everything balanced.
Thank you very much. Well, it's great discussing with you. I hope people are enjoying it. I suggest you provide some key message for closing this podcast, each of you. So, who wants to go first?
I'll take a crack at it, Miguel. You know,
Ju-
I'm really encouraged by what we're trying to do in terms of changing the culture of safety and improving safety worldwide. The one thing that I've learned as I've grown in my learning and understanding is that safety takes time. It's not going to occur overnight, but we need to stay focused on what we're really trying to do. And that is saving the lives of our friends, our families, our colleagues in a way that we can do it. Every country is going to be different. We need to look at the opportunities. We need to seize upon those opportunities. And we need to understand how to do that. It's a safe system. It's a whole approach. We need to look at that whole approach to the extent that we can incorporate it. And then recognize all of us, including the road user, have responsibility for improving road safety. Do our best, move it forward, and we will see those numbers going down. And one other part that I think about as well is technology. I think over time, for instance, automated vehicles and autonomous vehicles, they're going to help us, but it's going to take a long time to have those in our system. And in many places, we may never see them for a great deal of time. So we need to seize, and we need to do what we can and take those opportunities. So thank you.
Thank you very much, William. Barrel, please.
Yes, I would echo what John says. We need to think not only about what we're designing, but who we're designing it for. And we need to understand how they're going to use it, because you can guarantee they won't use it in the way you expect. And the last thing, as designers, as road users, we don't want to be responsible for killing people. So if we can put people at the forefront of all our thinking in developing road safety improvements, we will go a long way to reaching Vision Zero. It's about the people, and we need to protect them.
Thank you very much, John Barrel. Well, it was a pleasure to have you both here in this PR podcast, John Milton and John Barrel. I hope audience enjoyed. And remember, if you are driving, please drive safe. And if you are designing road infrastructure, please design it safe. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.